For Chi East Chamber of Commerce, I'm Wayne Lawrence. Is owning a business going to be a blessing or a curse? We're going to find out today. I've got Amy Roth with Amy R. Roth and Company. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So you earn a living by sewing. What's a little more detailed than that? I think I read that you actually learned how to sew from your mom, but you took it much more further. Tell me what you do.
I'm a tailor.
Okay.
I'm a couture trained ladies dressmaker. That means I do runway stuff. I'm a Brooks Brothers trained master tailor, which means that I can do basically, if it's clothes and fabric, I work on it. At this time in my life, I have given up on making things from scratch. I have given up on working fast. I do all mending and alterations, all fine tailoring. I don't like to make anything from scratch anymore, and I don't like to work fast.
Okay.
But if it's clothes, it's fabric, I will probably work on it, and I will probably do my own designs.
Okay. So if it's fabric, you're an expert. You know everything about.
I won't say I know everything, but I do know a whole lot.
Well, I think you're being modest. You're an expert, and we're going to get into that because you have certifications and things. So you pointed to what you're wearing now. Is that original? Is that something you designed yourself?
Sort of. I purchased this sweatshirt, and then I decided it was boring, so I played. The artist in me said, do this, so I did.
Okay, yeah. And then I think we had talked in the past. I think you said you liked the sparkle, right?
It's not possible for me to have too many sparkles.
So let me ask, how did you get involved in this business?
I started sewing literally in my mother's lap. By the time I was about 9, I had gone beyond where my mother could train me, where I could train myself. But I have a great aunt who's, I guess, could be considered a Holocaust survivor. During the Second World War, she was sent from the middle of no place in Latvia to Paris, to family there. The family there needed to do something with this child, so she was apprenticed to one of the couturier houses in Paris. We can't ask anymore which one because she's not with us anymore. Based on her training and the fact that I speak reasonably fluent French that I picked up at Cleveland Heights High School and also in the French house at Kent State University. I was hired by Brooks Brothers in Washington, D.C. about 40 years ago, and I was trained as a master tailor there. Brooks Brothers hired me because they wanted a tailor who spoke a foreign language to work with the foreign customers.
Okay.
They wanted a European language, and French is a European language.
Sure, absolutely. and it's not just one language. You speak, how many languages did you speak, Amy? 5 languages. I struggle with 1, and you speak 5. That's fantastic.
That's okay. I can't add.
So when you had this background, you went to Brooks Brothers. When did you finally branch out on your own? How long ago was that?
About 20 years ago.
About 20 years ago?
I've been sewing off and on as a side gig out of my home. I worked for many years as a licensed dispensing optician, but there came a time when that was no longer part of my life, and I needed an income. So I just said, I've had enough. I had the equipment. I had the knowledge. I rented a little teensy-weensy place, and I opened my tailor shop.
Okay.
And I've been going crazy since then.
Well, it's and I've been to your tailor shop. Thanks for having me by there, and I think it's fantastic what you have there. So the motivation was really just you were good at it, and you had a special skill that you thought that people would, certainly, want to utilize. But it was the fact that you just really needed to think about how do you earn an income, correct? And you were good at it. Yeah.
I wanted to pay my rent.
Yeah.
I wanted to put gas in the car. And most importantly, I wanted to put food on my table.
Okay. So, other people in those circumstances may just try to find another job somewhere, work for another tailor, et cetera. What made you take the leap into doing it yourself? Because that's a big leap.
It is a big leap. Some of my motivation was that I was tired of working for other people. I'm a very independent sort of individual. And I just simply did not want to live on other people's schedules anymore. It was time for me to be myself and work on my schedule and do what I wanted.
Okay.
So I did.
So I think I'm going to ask the question because I think I know one of the blessings. And the question is, has owning your own business, has it been a blessing or curse over time?
A little of both.
A little both? Okay. So the blessing, I assume, is being able to have your own schedule, to meet customers and to do the way you want to as an expert in it. What are some other blessings and curses?
Recently, my mother became very ill, and I had the luxury of being able to come and go as I needed to care for her. I didn't have to beg and plead an employer or a scheduler for the time off that I needed. And I have the blessing of being able to close down my office for a couple of hours to come here and talk to you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you did. Yeah. And actually, let's just mention, I did visit your office. Thanks for inviting me by there. And it's like a kind of a showroom in a sense. You've got a changing area. You've got some of the some of the fabric and things that you're working on, and then you have your equipment there. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't know if you thought I was going to ask you this, but so Amy R. Roth and Company, what's the and Company?
Albert, Oscar, and Ricardo.
And who are they?
Many, many, many years ago, my children named my sewing machine.
Right.
Albert is a 100-year-old Singer straight stitch.
Uh-huh.
Oscar is about a 65-year-old blind hemming machine.
Uh-huh.
And Ricardo is about a 45-year-old serger. So the serger is the machine that does the edge stitching.
Okay.
And I work on these antique machines because these are the most reliable machines that were ever built.
Yep.
When I have to have them fixed, I have a gentleman who actually is an antiques dealer, and he fixes them for me.
Okay. Has that been a challenge, though, or has he just been... Okay. Has he been in business for a long time himself?
His family has been in business for about 100 years.
Would you mind sharing who that is?
Peter at Globe Sewing Machine.
Oh, okay. Yep.
His family has been in business. He's about fifth generation, but his family has been in business since sewing machines were invented.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, because I always wonder, I mean, when you see, as I saw that, we've moved people who have, I think I told you, they have antique sewing machines, and I always wonder, like, how do you fix these things? I mean, where do you get the parts? But so they would probably have, I guess, parts at this point over time.
They have a collection of machines that as old as you and me put together.
Sure. And that's what they use to get parts and different things. Yes. During the pandemic, was there a problem getting any sort of parts at that time, or is it?
I had no trouble with my machines.
Okay.
Getting the fabrics and elastics that I needed to make masks was something entirely different.
All right. So
I ordered the elastics from any craft place that would talk to me. The fabrics, I was going to Mark's and buying sheet sets and cutting up the sheet sets and doing 3 layers of sheeting.
Okay. So the pandemic became an opportunity for you in a sense because of the masks you were making. And actually, you went kind of beyond the call of duty. If I recall, I believe the South Euclid Police Department recognized you as an essential business because you supplied the police department and fire department, correct?
I was taking masks to the police and fire department in South Euclid. The chief of police wrote a letter thanking me and declaring me to be an essential business.
Right.
I framed it and put it on my wall.
So, that in itself is kind of a blessing and makes you feel good about getting up. Just now, obviously the pandemic was horrible and, and the fact that we had to wear masks, et cetera, but to be able to supply your local community with protective devices, it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
We all stepped up and did what we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have to as businesses. You keep regular business hours, which I think I was amazed by because, you're there every single day and, of course you can shut down if you want to for a couple hours, but you keep regular business hours. Why?
When you put yourself out in the public to be a business and to serve the public and deal with the public, you have to be consistent. You have to have consistent hours and you have to be there. The places, the businesses, the establishments that do not keep their regular business hours and are not reliable don't tend to stay around very long. If I wanted to be in business and if I wanted to stay in business, I had to post hours and I had to be there during those hours. Mm-hmm. If I'm not there, people will say she's not around, she's out of business, and they won't come back. So I have to be there.
That is absolutely great advice. And I agree with you 100% because I know there are people who are listening or watching, and maybe they're a sole proprietor, individual business owner, and they think that they can do things when they want to, and that's okay. But depending on the type of business you have to be consistent and reliable. I remember even coming to your shop, you just said, Wayne, here's my hours, come in, I'll be there. And I walked in, of course you were there, hard at work on the sewing machine, putting something together. But I agree, it was that reliability. I could just go in and find you, which is great.
If you're not reliable, you're not there very long.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but it can get lonely. Okay, when a person's a sole proprietor, that could be a lonely feeling at times. So what keeps you motivated to go in every day and just, continuing your trek?
I have people that call me.
Okay.
I have people that stop by and visit. And I just keep working and working and working. And to be quite mercenary about it, there is that little thing called the paycheck.
Right.
When people pay you, you get real motivated real fast.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much they're paying you. As I said, paying the rent, putting gas in the car, putting food on your table is a very strong motivation.
How'd you get into costumes?
The inspiration is that this is where I'm creative. This is where I can be creative. And I am a creative artist. My artistry is with fabrics and trims and shapes and whatevers. And I just have too much fun making things.
Okay.
I have way too much fun creating a look for somebody. This is where my head is. This is where my artistry is. Some people can bake. I can sew.
Yeah. An artist with a sewing machine, which actually, when you think about that, even is somewhat of a blessing as you see someone and they you design something for them, and I'm sure when you see how pleased they are with it, and especially if you're doing something where you have costumes, how it looks on stage, that's got to be just a euphoric feeling. It really has to be.
I'm currently costuming a production of Arsenic and Old Lace.
Okay.
At Gates Mills Little Theater.
Oh.
And I'm having way too much fun. My favorite costume is a gentleman who's playing President Teddy Roosevelt. We were out shopping, and I was referring to him as Mr. President. The people around were looking at me like I was nuts. But we were putting together the best suits for him. He's not sure about the pink tie, but since he's going to be in Panama, the pink tie will work.
And so you like to be in character then, right? I mean, I think it helps to find what what your ultimate vision is, just to be in character.
If you stay in the character of whatever it is you're doing, it sends your thoughts that way,
right.
And you're more likely to do whatever it is well.
How do you get your customers? I'm sure you have those who are repeat customers. You have a big mouth?
I have a big mouth. I walk around. Yeah. I do a lot of networking. I hand out cards. I leave cards all kinds of places. I myself personally know very little about media, but I have a gentleman who made a beautiful website for me, and I have people, mostly my children, who understand how to work the media, and they put things online for me. During the pandemic, a gentleman put onto Nextdoor that I was making masks. That's blown up. People find me. I'm on Google. I'm on every place.
Yeah.
I stopped actually paying for advertisements many years ago because I have a big mouth. There's also word of mouth. The best possible reference for anybody ever is word of mouth. And I would say that comfortably half of my customers at this point come to me through word of mouth.
Okay.
With other customers.
Yeah. And I would encourage anyone just listening or watching to go to your website, which is?
Amy R. Roth and Company.
Okay.
AMYROTHANDCOMPANY.com.
Perfect. Because you do have a wonderful gallery. I think it's really neat to see the designs you've done and see some of the costumes. I mean, it really helps a person understand the type of work and creativity you have. So I would encourage anyone to go check that out. Now, so you mentioned networking, and networking is I get all geared up when we talk networking because you and I met at a chamber event, and you know how I get geared up about chamber events. So do you belong to a chamber?
Heights Hillcrest Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, so I think we were at like a 5 chamber chamber event or something.
They called it a mega
Yeah.
network. There were 5 chambers all meeting together. It was very nice.
Yeah.
The venue was very nice, and I met lots and lots and lots of beautiful people.
Yeah.
Some of whom have called me.
Uh-huh.
There are 1 or 2 people I plan on calling. I talked to you.
Yeah.
There are 1 or 2 other people. Networking is nice because you get to spread out and you get to talk to people who are doing things other than what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
You're a gentleman who, along with everything else, you're a mover. I talk to financial planners and web people and teachers and musicians and all kinds of good people.
I agree, and you and I have probably been networking for quite some time over the years, especially through chambers, and I think it's a great opportunity just kind of to bring people together. So same idea of how I met you through that as well too, and here we sit, and I had a chance to visit.
That's right.
So, what advice would you give anyone who is thinking about getting to business, not necessarily what you do, what advice would you give them to help them succeed?
Plan a budget and stick to that budget with everything you have for at least the first 18 months.
Okay, that's
Don't
good advice.
deviate more than $1.50 because you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
You have to have that budget. You have to keep track of your money.
Are you able to project revenues at this point for the year, or is it still, because you just never know?
The kind of work that I do, I never know.
Okay.
The kind of work that you do know. You have a moving company.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a pretty fair idea of what kind of person is going to be moving and when. You have a reasonably fair idea of what it's going to cost for these people, which is your income.
Yeah.
I never really know because things are very fluid. There's also the outside influences. Right now, there's a lot of politics going on. There's 2 wars. There's a lot of crazy stuff. People aren't thinking about clothes.
Mm-hmm.
People are repairing things. They're not buying new things. Most of my money comes in right now from repairs and weddings.
Okay.
But it could change. When the economy opens up a bit, people will start buying things, and then I'll start working on new stuff.
That's interesting because, back in 2008 when we had, financial crisis, was it the same circumstance where people were repairing things versus going out buying new stuff? Okay.
Yes. It was a pretty scary moment for me.
Yeah.
I am very grateful to say that I finished in the black, only by about literally $15. But anything in the black is better than anything in the red.
Exactly. Yeah. And it sounds to me like you're very in tune with where you are. And I think that's great advice because I think that business owners kind of get away from that and they get caught by surprise. But to understand where you need to be, what your revenues are projected to be and how the expenses are going to relate to that is really sound advice because people could find themselves in a hole very, very quickly. So I think that's really fantastic advice. Yeah.
It's very easy to overspend.
Yeah.
And it's also very easy to overextend yourself by taking out loans. The fewer loans you can take out, the better, because you don't have to pay these back, and you don't have to consider the interest in paying these back, because that adds up very quickly.
So when you talk about expenses, you did move into your shop initially.
Yes.
I think the one I went into was not
was
the
my
original
third.
one. You're your third one. How did you make that decision versus just even working out of your home or somewhere else?
I know myself.
Okay.
If I had to work out of my home, I would probably get caught up in doing everything but working. But if I have an address that I must go to that is set up as a place of employment with regular hours, it focuses my thoughts in that manner, and I go to work and I have a job.
Mm-hmm.
For me to work at home would not work at all.
I absolutely love that statement and that advice because I think people struggle with all the time whether or not they're going to be able to be productive at home or go somewhere else. And you know yourself. So there are some people who basically aren't disciplined enough to work out of their home. So therefore they need a place to go to because it feels like work. They get up, they dress for it, they get there and they're working, they have specific hours. I absolutely think that's fantastic, advice to people as you think about it. So what do you do when you're not working?
Well, I play music. I'm a classically trained violist. I play in the Suburban Symphony Orchestra, and I play in the Lakeland Civic Orchestra. I walk a lot. Mm-hmm. I hang out with some friends.
So
I
actually,
read a lot.
So you're being very modest again. You being an expert in terms of what you do. You're actually playing concerts right now. So tell us where those are and what.
I play with Suburban Symphony Orchestra.
Yep.
We play mostly at Beechwood High School. Once a year, we play at the Maltz Performing Arts Center,
Okay.
which is absolutely magnificent.
Okay.
Lakeland Civic Orchestra plays at Lakeland College.
Okay. Gotcha.
And
Right.
I will admit that I have way too much fun doing this.
Uh-huh.
I get to play some of the most beautiful music. Lakeland Civic, right now, we're preparing for a concert. One of our pieces, if you're playing jazz, you call them tunes. If you're playing classical, they're pieces. One of our pieces was written by a member of the orchestra.
Okay. Well, I hope people not only check out your shop, but they also check out you performing as well. Amy, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and expertise with everyone. I encourage people to contact you and go. We all need a tailor at some point, without any doubt. And I think people are going to get a lot of value out of what you shared in terms of how you persevered over time and understanding their business. So I really thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Hey, if you like this episode, don't forget to comment, like, and share.
This podcast was made possible with the support of our sponsors. Find more ways to grow at chieast.org.